Why does the Torah interrupt the story so often to just give like a list of rules and regulations? Hi everyone, welcome to Ask and Response with R.A. Sweeney, where I try to respond to different questions you might have about the Bible. Today was looking at some questions about the way the Bible, especially in the Torah, it will be like telling a story and it'll just kind of stop in the middle of the story to just like give some like rules and regulations. And it makes it for kind of an awkward storytelling in really both ways. If you're interested in the narrative, you kind of have to like skip around a bunch to stay on the narrative. And if you are interested in the laws, you kind of have to skip around a little bit to like collect all the chunks of law because they're kind of just like mingled together and it's not really broken out like at least how most of our writing would lay stuff like that out. So I feel like I kind of touched on right there at the very end of that of it's not how we would expect, but this is actually a pretty normal way of writing in a lot of cultures throughout history. The idea here is that the law and the story are inseparable. So I used to work in an industry where I was enforcing compliance or helping people stay in compliance with different rules. And people get so mad about the rules and, well, why do we need to do this anyway? And we always said, like, they don't make rules if people haven't caused a problem by not doing the thing that the rule says. So we've got rule that says don't do this, means somebody did it at some point and it caused a problem, so then we decided we needed a rule. There's a story behind it. And in our culture, we don't know the story most of the time, and so we kind of hate the rules. But throughout history, the idea has been that rules and stories are inseparable. We don't have the rules just because. We have them because there's a story that informs the rule. And the story is only significant because the rule came from that story. And so, like, for me, what's coming to mind is in the story of the Exodus, the actual, like, when they're leaving, you've got all this dramatic story is building and building and building, and you're like, okay, this is getting really exciting. And then it just, like, stops the bus to start laying out all the rules for how to follow Passover in forever. Like, how this is how you guys are going to always follow the Passover. Here's the rules for how to do it. And the idea is like, the story isn't there just to be an entertaining story. The story is there to help you figure out, how do I build my life around this? How is this shaping my understanding of the world? How am I building liturgies? And just, it's meant to be transforming you. And so you've got all this exciting story, and then you get to what we see as this really boring set of rules, but it's like, and here's how you remember this story. Here's how you take this story and make it about you, how you bring it into your own life. Because it's not just, oh, well, the Israelites did this. Like, God implemented the Passover so that every generation, every single year would have their own Passover reenactment to say, you needed the Passover, you needed rescued, you needed drawn out, you needed these things, and we're doing these things so that each year, is it a ritual? Is it a reenactment? Or is it the thing itself? And the answer is yes. It's all of it together. So it's bringing this piece while the story's fresh in your mind to say, and you do these things because you're in the middle of this exact same story and you need to pass over. You need to be following these rules yourself because that's what's going to make this transformative in your life. And then the story goes on. And then you find out that there were non-Israelites among them. And the story's like, okay, yeah, non-Israelites were welcomed as a part of this. And here's the rules for them, because you wouldn't have gotten it until we got these details. So let's add the rules that apply for people who are non-Israelites and making sure that they're circumcised and things like that. And the story is saying, like, let's tell the story that's then going to explain the rules, and you're going to follow the rules because the rules are going to bring you back to the story so that it's all coming together in the rituals and the liturgy of your own life. So it doesn't necessarily always make it more palatable because you get caught up in the story and you're like, stop interrupting. I want to see where the story goes. But it's meant to stop us so that we can start to build that structure into our life so that we can relive these things. We can go through the processes that God says, like, these are important for us to live out, for us to continue on, for us to make our story. And that's what all the liturgies are meant to do. All the festivals and the covenant practices and things like that were all meant for us to say, okay, I am putting myself in this story. The Israelites circumcised themselves to say, hey, I am part of the story of Abraham, who all of his sins led to him doing these terrible things to Hagar, his wife's slave, and he needed to be circumcised to remove the flesh that he used to abuse her. And we're all going to mark ourselves with that. And then baptism says we need our whole body to just be dunked underwater and drowned so that a new human being can come out. And so it's all meant to build that story around us. But without the story, the rules don't make sense. And without the rules, we're just reading a story. And yeah, it'll have some effect, but it's bringing those together, mingling them together, forcing us to stop, reflect, and build the structure in our lives is what really brings that transformation. So that's at least the response that I have. I don't know how well that really makes you enjoy some of these rules a bit more, but look for that. Look at what are these rules, what do they have to do with the story that we were just reading about? Why did they stop here to tell us these rules? And then what do I do with that in my life so that I can understand the Bible better, so that I can understand my walk with God better, so that I can live out my walk with God better. If you guys are enjoying these videos, subscribe so that your weekly video that I am putting out, be sharing with anybody else who might appreciate these. Likes help me in the algorithm get more views. So any of those things to help me just spread this video series a little bit more would be appreciated. But for now, I'm really grateful you guys were here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.